chess to my friend Brent Davis. This is for Dr. Strange's EDM 310 class, and this is my Teach Somebody Something video. Let's get started. Okay, Brent, you're about to learn a very ancient game that's been around since the Middle Ages and probably a little bit farther back than that. What we have here, you have 16 pawns, 2 rooks, 2 horses, and 2 bishops, plus your king and your queen. Your pawns are your most basic pieces on the board. They can also be the most annoying pieces on the board. And the way the pawns work is on their initial move, they can move 1 space or 2 spaces. But after that, it's only 1 move. So after their first 2 moves, these 2 move 2 moves up. They can only move 1 at a time after that. Okay? Now, on a capture move, let's say your knight is here, and I have my pawn, which is here. Pawns only take diagonally. So these 2 squares here are its killing zones. If you didn't move your knight here, this pawn would take your knight and end up on its space. Okay. Any questions so far?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Just remember, if you play your pawns right, they're good for defense and offense. They can back up your bigger pieces because your opponent's not going, unless it's in their strategic value, to trade out for a pawn. Next would be the knight. The knight moves in an L shape. The easiest way to play a knight is, remember, it ends up on the opposite color that it starts. That's the easiest way to learn a knight. 2 up, 1 over, or 2 over, 1 up. That's the way the knight moves. And see, if you notice, every time he ends up on the opposite color. Can't go wrong with knights. Me personally, I don't like knights because they're annoying pieces. I prefer the bishops. I'll get to those in a minute though. The knights are also the only piece that can jump, if you notice, their own pieces. Even this, my knight and your knights can jump over your opponent's pieces. So that's a pretty cool thing about the knights. Okay, the next piece, and my favorite piece, a bishop. Or as I call them, the snuffy nose.
Okay.
The bishops are a mid to late game piece if you can hold on to them for that long. The reason why, I'll open up the board a little bit for us. Okay. As we can see here, these 2 bishops cover a lot of territory. They move on diagonal squares of the color that they're on, white and black. As you can see, these bishops cover this and this. That's a lot of territory for one piece to cover. And in the later parts of the game, when most of the pieces are already gone, bishops can control even more territory. So I value them personally more over knights. Let's say this pawn was here. This bishop can move up and take the pawn. Now, going back on what I taught you, Brent, what 2 pieces over here can take that bishop?
Either your rook, which moves in straight lines, or your pawn, which moves in diagonals.
Okay, very good. I didn't even bring up the rook, but that's very observant. And which other piece?
Oh, and also your knight, because it moves in an L shape.
That's right. Good job, Brent. You learn very quickly. So if you ever play me, always take these. These are my favorite pieces.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what my favorite piece is.
The next piece that I like that is a mid-late game to a very late game piece, mainly because it can't get out till then, is the rook. The rook can cover an awesome amount of space. As you can see here, they can cover forwards, backwards, left, and right. All this, back here, and over here. They can't move diagonally, but they can cover a lot of space. They're the second strongest piece behind your queen. Okay, and let's see here. On this one, say you had your bishop here. This rook can move up, take your bishop. Now, if your bishop was here, the rook can't move diagonal. See? So the rook wouldn't be able to take the bishop. Can't move diagonal. Okay. The queen. The queen is by far the most powerful piece on the board. The queen can move in any direction. Forwards, backwards, left, right, and diagonal. She can move any number of spaces, but can't jump over objects. The rook can't jump over objects, nor the pawns. Only the knights can. Just keep that in mind. The queen is the most powerful piece because I don't like relying on the queen myself because too much power is placed into her. And if you lose her, especially in the early part of the game, you're pretty much finished unless you're a really good player. Okay, so on this one here, print, say you had a rook over here, this queen can move over and take your rook. Or you had a knight here, let's put our queen here, you can move diagonal and take the knight. Pretty basic, but the trick is putting them all together. Okay, the next piece I'm going to do is the king and the rook. This is an ancient technique known as castling. Are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am. Why don't you go ahead and show me though?
Okay. Castling is done to help fortify your king. It's mainly done, I like doing it when the board kind of clutters up. It not only frees your rook, but it pushes your king even farther back into your territory to where you can protect him. You would do that by moving over 2 spaces on the king side and moving your rook over 2 spaces. Therefore, you protect your king and you open your rook up to cover more territory.
Can you do the same thing on the other side?
Yes, you can, Brent. Good question. Let me clear all these pieces out. And this would be known as castling queen side, what Brent just mentioned. And what you do is the rook would move 3 and the king would move 2. It's a little bit different because there's such a wider gap on the queen side. Move the king 2 and the rook 3. And that is castling on the queen side. Okay, and the last piece. This is the most important piece in the game, the king. He can move in any direction right beside him, all around here, but only 1 square at a time. And if somebody, say you have a knight here, my king's here, that is a check. I would have to move my king out of check, especially with the knight. I cannot use another piece to intercede to block the check. So I would have to move my king. Okay, now on a move, say Brent had his queen here. See, then I could use my pawn to block the queen's check. But at knight, you have to move the king. Okay, that's pretty much a basic little summary of the game. I could go into more details, but it would take a pretty good while.
Give us an example of a checkmate.
Okay, a checkmate, a real quick and easy one, Print, that happens to a lot of people. Let me move this. Okay, say you castle, your rooks are gone, and a common mistake people do is they don't open these pawns. Basically, you're blocking your king, and somebody has their queen, and they move it down, okay, and they put you in check. But the king can't move forward because his pawns are still blocking the way. He can't move here because of the queen, and he can't move here because he'll still be in check. So this would result in a checkmate, which means you can't move your king out of danger and he'll be captured, and you've lost the game. So you want to avoid this if at all possible. Chess is as much offense as it is defense. Depending on who you're playing with, it could be one or the other. So that's generally the basic rules of chess, Brent. Any questions you got?
No, I think you explained it very well.
Okay, excellent. Well, I thank you for your time, and I hope this has kind of enlightened you a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is Philip Cooper for Dr. Strange's EDM 310 class.